Yo, welcome in, welcome in. Appreciate you guys for being here as always. It's another episode of the NBA Team Previews 2022 edition. With no further ado, I'm gonna just jump right into it, man. It's a Friday evening. I know a lot of people got a lot of things they want to do, but talking about basketball is fun, man. So I've been tweeting out that we got less than 2 weeks before the preseason start, and as of today, we officially got less than 1 week before the preseason start. So yeah, we gonna go ahead and jump into it, man. It's an exciting time of the year. We got basketball, we got football, hockey's on the way if you into that type of thing. So yeah, I'm excited, interested, of course, to talk about these teams. Just posted the YouTube link up top. If anybody want to jump on YouTube, appreciate everybody for being here, whether it's Twitter or YouTube. I'm gonna jump straight into it, man. Jump straight into it. So these team previews that I've been doing, I started last Thursday. So it's been a week and a day now, 2 teams a day. Are really just a quick highlight of what's transpired in the offseason for each team. I'm talking about additions for each team, subtractions, a recap of last season, and expectations for this upcoming season. Of course, I'm doing this to bring people up to speed and kind of refresh people's memories of what's happened to each team and provide some kind of clarity for as far as roster moves. But more importantly, to make us all better informed gamblers, of course, right? Informed bettors, right? I always say if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready. So that's the point. That's why we're doing it. 2 teams per day. Like I said, yesterday we broke down the Washington Wizards and the Dallas Mavericks. On Wednesday, we did the Lakers and the Toronto Raptors. On Monday, we did the Charlotte Hornets and the Denver Nuggets. And then Sunday, we did the Spurs and the Chicago Bulls. So 2 teams a day. Today, we'll address the Sacramento Kings and the Philadelphia 76ers. Tomorrow, we have the Golden State Warriors and the Indiana Pacers. And then we only have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Only 10 more previews after 10 more teams. So 5 more previews. Next Friday, at this time, NBA preseason already kicked off. If you guys have been following and doing your homework, Media Day started today as well. So we had Media Day for the Atlanta Hawks. Also, the Washington Wizards had Media Day. A lot of teams have Media Day coming up on Monday as well. So I think Golden State has one on Sunday. So, always interested to see what those guys are talking about during Media Day as well. But like I said, with no further ado, man, let's just go ahead and jump into it. I want to go to Sacramento first. I want to talk about the Kings out west. So let's go there. Then we'll double back around and hit the East Coast team, the Philadelphia 76ers. So let's talk about additions for the Kings. So they got Kevin Huerter via trade for DeJounte Murray, that 3-team trade. They also grabbed Matthew Dellavedova. He agreed to a 1-year deal. But the biggest piece that they grabbed probably was Malik Monk. You get Malik Monk, they didn't overextend or overpay for him. He agreed to a 2-year deal from the Lakers. Also, Kent Bazemore came over. He agreed to a 1-year deal. They changed head coaches. Alvin Gentry's out. Mike Brown left the Golden State Warriors organization, and he's going to take over as head coach over there. And we've seen him have some proven success. Granted, it was the team with LeBron James on it. And then also maybe one of the underrated pieces is you get Keegan Murray, who was the 4th overall pick in the draft, the power forward out of Iowa. I don't know if you guys watched him play in the summer league or watched him play at Iowa last year. Full disclosure, I did not. If I'm being honest, I didn't watch him play too much last year at Iowa, but I watched him in the summer league. This guy won the summer league MVP. And like I said, the 4th overall pick. So of course they're pretty high on him. He also he can ball. Like he got some game. He a power forward. He reminds me a lot of Kyle Kuzma. And I think he helps that team this year. Of course, not tremendously. I don't think he pushes them into the playoffs or anything, but I think he's going to be a great addition for the team. And I think he got a really, really high ceiling. His game reminds me a lot of Kyle Kuzma. Looked like Kuzma a little bit too. Can shoot the ball, put it on the floor. Get some buckets down low as well. So those are the additions. As far as subtractions, Dante DiVincenzo went to the Warriors. He signed with the Warriors. Josh Jackson left. He went up north to Toronto. He'll be playing for the Raptors. Mo Hartless got traded in that deal with the Hawks as well. He went to the Hawks, so he won't be on this team. Justin Holiday signed with the Raptors, and then Damian Jones went to the Lakers. And of course, like I said, Alvin Gentry's gone, replaced by Mike Brown. So as far as the last season recap, for me, this team, well, not even for me, it's a fact. This team has not made the playoffs in 16 straight years. Last season they made the big move to send Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield to Indiana in a trade for Sabonis, who was a walking double-double. And I like him on this team. I think, them being able to have a guy like him, with De'Aaron Fox, they get the offseason to kind of bond. Most of the time, you never see teams hit their peak potential the same year, when it's in the middle of a trade. I think about Philadelphia 76ers in that regard as well. James Harden came over last year. You never really see these teams win at the highest level. And I'm not saying that the Kings going to win at the highest level by any means, but you never really see these teams win at the highest level the same year that the trade happens. We always talk about chemistry. We talk about camaraderie. And sometimes it takes, well, most of the time, it takes time for players to gel, for systems to gel, for players to learn other players' tendencies of where they want the ball, how they want to play, those type of things. So I think all of that will be extremely important this year. And I think that only makes the Kings just a tad bit better. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to, make a run at the NBA Finals, but I do think that they probably finish off a little bit better than they did, last year. So as far as offseason notes, I talked about already drafting Keegan Murray, who won the MVP in the Summer League. This team is still in the rebuilding process, but I think that they're actually doing it's crazy to say, but they're doing a better job recently, I would say. Signing Malik Monk, I think, is a big deal. I think he's somebody that can go out and get you 17 to 18 points. He'll have an expanded role, not, having to play behind Bron, especially with AD coming back. And we saw him ascend last year. I was really high on Malik Monk. I didn't like for him to leave my Lakers, but, it is what it is. And then, like I said, Fox and Sabonis getting the offseason to, kind of, just build on their chemistry. I like them two together as well. And Keegan Murray, like I said, fourth overall pick. He's actually projected to be in the starting lineup for this team as well. And I like him. Like I said, I think that he's a sleepy, a sleepy starter in the league, and he's going. I'm interested to see from a prop perspective where his numbers are, because I think he's a guy that you definitely going to be able to bet on when he has certain matchups, especially those fours that don't move as laterally. I think it's going to be pretty difficult for him to guard. For them to guard him, in some of those matchups. So I like this kid. I'm pretty high on this kid. And I think that as I transition, I think the books are a little higher on the Kings as well. And like I said, I'm not saying the Kings make the playoffs or anything like that, get home court advantage. I think that's crazy. But what I do think is that last year this team went 30-52. The markets right now have this team going 33 and a half wins, right? So even the books are projecting this team to be a little bit better. And I would agree with that. I don't think that they're, at the bottom of the barrel as they have been recently, throughout their time in the Western Conference over the last few years. So I would only be able to look towards, them winning about 33, 34 games. They also have a lot of draft picks, and, if a disgruntled star, happens to take form, they could be one of the teams that land a guy. If you see a big time name. Also, you get guys like Sabonis. Like I said, he's a walking double-double, presents a lot of mismatches on the offensive end. But then De'Aaron Fox, we saw him come into his own last year as well. I'm interested to see his progression as a guard for the Sacramento Kings. I think he just continues to get better after having another year under his belt. So that's what I'm looking at for this team, man. As far as strength of schedule, they do have the 8th most difficult schedule, which won't bode well for them. Like I said, my expectation isn't that this team, at all, makes it to the NBA championship. But I do think that if we're looking at a wins projection, I think I like them to go over the 33 and a half. I haven't placed a bet, in just full transparency. And maybe they end up tanking again. But I do think that, based on the last 4 teams in the Western Conference, last year, the last 4 teams in the Western Conference was the Kings. They finished 4th to last. Portland was the third to last, third to worst team. The Oklahoma City Thunder were 4th to worst, and then the Houston Rockets were the last team. So Sacramento won, like I said, 30 games. Houston won 20. I think Sacramento takes a step up and can get at least to the 34 wins. I'm not betting it, but that's the only way I would look at it. And I like what they did in the offseason. Looking at their schedule from the beginning of the season, it is a tad bit difficult before it gets easy for them. They start the season off at home against Portland on opening night, which is Wednesday, October the 19th. Then this team hosts the Clippers. They got to travel to Golden State. Then they come back home and they host Memphis. They host Miami. They go to Charlotte, then to Miami, then to Orlando, and then to Golden State. So a couple of well, I wouldn't say easy wins, a couple winnable games in there is what I'll say, and a couple games where they just gonna have their backs against the wall, and it's gonna be really, really difficult for them to win. But this was a fast-paced team last year. They like to get out and run. It's gonna be interesting to see if Mike Brown, adopts that system from Alvin Gentry, especially being that they have so many younger guys on that team. But yeah, those are my thoughts. On the Sacramento Kings. If anybody got anything on the Kings they want to add, definitely request up. I don't know if I got any Kings fans that follow me last year in the spaces, but anybody that want to speak on De'Aaron Fox or any of those guys, definitely request up, and you can have a mic. Lockdown, I see you requested up, and I know that's probably for Philly, but if you got anything on the Kings you want to mention, Lockdown, the floor is yours, bro. And I appreciate you guys in the YouTube chat as well. The comments, everybody kind of rocking with me over there on the YouTube page as well. If you join late, the YouTube link is posted in the tweet that's pinned to the top in the Twitter Spaces.
Well, man, I'm good. Yeah, the Kings actually do want to mention that. I remember listening to Low Post, and he's actually pretty high on the Kings. So I don't have him talking about it. Kind of like made me feel a little high on it as well, on that win total being so low. Just like based on who they have, Domantas Sabonis, and yeah, it definitely feels a little low, but it's also just like I'm only willing to bet on like a future win total, I guess, on a team that I'm going to watch anyways. And I don't know that I mean, I don't know, they could be an exciting team this year. They could be a really fun team. I do think that. So I do consider that to be a lean on their over, but yeah, I don't have too much else on them. But good for them for having some excitement.
Right. No, I'm with you. Like, though, you bring back a guy Harrison Barnes that can create for himself and others. Quinn Cook is also a part of this team. Like I said, Kevin Huerter is a guy that can, create for himself and, definitely shoot the ball pretty well. Jeremy Lamb's on this team. The development of guys like Richard Holmes. It's going to be interesting, man. I even like Metu. If you got a chance to watch Metu play last year, Davion Mitchell, somebody that we can't forget to mention. So definitely exciting, Lockdown. I think, not necessarily we don't want to put like, extremely high expectations on this team. But I do think exciting. You use the word exciting, Lockdown. I would totally agree with that. I think they have a bunch of young guys who are athletic and probably going to be hungry, right? The Kings have been terrible for forever, since Peja Stojakovic and Chris Webber, right? So like this team has these young guys, going to feel like they got something to prove, and I'm pretty sure they're going to bring it on a nightly basis. So I would agree with your assessment of this team being a interesting, fun team to watch. That's going to be exciting. It's going to present a lot of opportunity for us, Lockdown, to bet on them specifically, player prop wise.
Yep, that and like also just catching like an East Coast team on the end of their trip. You know what I mean? Like facing the young and hungry guys. Like this just feels like one of the try-hard teams this year that are just gonna, and they're gonna like the issue will be their defense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But their offense will be pretty fun. So
yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Like, and the other thing, what you said about the defense, this team didn't, they by far wasn't one of the best defensive teams last year. But bringing in a coach like Mike Brown, who's going to hang his head on the defensive end, it's going to be interesting to see if he can get those guys to kind of buy in, right? Because they do have some guys that are, pretty long and athletic. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get those guys to kind of buy into, a defensive scheme.
It just comes down to Sabonis, right? Like, I mean, isn't that his knock? I have to. It's been a long ass day, but like, I feel like it's just going to be really tough with Sabonis. Like, when you have a center who's not, an anchor for you defensively, it's just going to be tough. He's a brilliant offensive player, but defensively, that's the issue with Sabonis. You know what I mean? And it's like, who are you going to stand next to him to really help out there? And yeah, I mean, but offensively, yeah, they're going to score a lot of points. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with yourself. Like, let's take to remember how fucking fast.
De'Aaron Fox is, right? Yeah.
I've been out all day, so my brain's mush. I almost forgot, and I was like, oh my god, I got to do the Sixers night. But yeah, no, but he's so fucking fast, man. You're talking about a fan of Tyrese Maxey, also one of the fastest fucking guys on the court.
Absolutely.
So yeah, they're going to be great. It really, the Mike Brown point is a good point. I believe. Definitely give the Low Post a listen if you want to listen to some Kings stuff, because he digests them a bit, and it's pretty good content. So
nice,
yeah.
nice. Yeah, I appreciate your thoughts in your comments, Lockdown, for sure, bro. Anybody else that got anything they want to discuss on the Kings? Like I said, definitely request up. I'm not extremely high on this team, but I do think that they probably get over that win total, and I'm glad somebody that follows the team probably a lot closer than I do. I'm glad I'm, on the same page as them, Lockdown. So that makes me feel good too. But I don't see anybody rushing to request up. So let's transition to Philly. I know most people right here for Philly anyway. Let's talk about the 76ers. So let's jump straight into it. So additions first, the 76ers, they made some moves this year. I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. I'm high on the Celtics this year. I'm bullish, definitely on the Celtics. You bring Harden back on a 2-year deal, which he restructured that contract so that they could have a little more money to go out and get a couple other guys that I'm going to mention here shortly. You get DeAnthony Melton in the trade with the Grizzlies, and then Montrezl Harrell comes over after getting in the legal trouble that he got into with the marijuana. He agreed to a 2-year deal after getting those. I think he got those charges dropped. Yeah, I saw something last week. He got those dropped. You get PJ Tucker, who agreed to a 3-year deal, and Daniel House comes over on a 2-year deal. All moves that I really, really like. I think that makes the 76ers a lot more I think it gives them a lot more depth. I think it makes them a lot more tough because I think they lacked that toughness last year. You had a bunch of guys who could score offensively, but when Embiid wasn't in the game, you didn't see the toughness presented from some of those guys. And you need a nice mixture, right? You need the guys that can score, the Steph Currys of the world, but you also need those guys that's gonna bang, the Draymond Greens of the world, right? The Otto Porters of the world, those type of guys. So I think that they went out and got those guys, which is why I think I'm a little bullish on the 76ers this year. To me, it just seems like this could be their year. Far as subtractions, they didn't lose much. They lost DeAndre Jordan to the Nuggets. That's not a big loss, especially when you replace him with somebody like Montrezl Harrell and you bring in a guy like PJ Tucker, and then you lose Danny Green. He was traded in the trade for DeAnthony Melton, which that's not significant for me. He does have championship experience, but that's not extremely significant. Losing a guy like him, he's a knockdown shooter, but you get DeAnthony Melton, who's also a knockdown shooter as well. So that's going to be interesting. Danny Green is also somebody that was aging. So you bring in somebody that hopefully can, do what he did at a similar level, but that, that's a lot younger. So I like that move. I like that move a lot. As far as the last season recap for the 76ers, this team went to the Eastern Conference semifinals last year. They ended up losing 4-2 to the Miami Heat. We saw them, just have a bunch of different things that didn't go their way as far as injuries, from Harden coming over before the postseason even started to Joel Embiid kind of being in and out of the lineup. They dealt with a lot last year. They definitely dealt with a lot. Embiid was somebody that, it's interesting to see how Embiid comes out this year. We know he played through a lot of injuries last year, even when he was in the game. But even when he wasn't in the game, Embiid was, when he wasn't injured, Embiid was dominating. I don't know if people remember or not. Hopefully they do. But this guy, finished second in MVP voting, averaged pretty close to 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 blocks last year. Yeah, exactly. Scoring leader last year. Averaged. He was a monster, an absolute monster. And I think I'm interested to see if he has motivation from not winning the MVP last year. Like how healthy is he? How many games does he play? I'm interested to see all of those things, just to kind of see what that translates into. Off-season notes. So one of the things I think that's going to be extremely interesting is Slim Harden, right? So I don't know if people have been paying attention, but hopefully they have. Harden has actually been working out over the offseason. Looks like he's in pretty good shape based on the pictures that's been posted, which has always kind of hindered his team's success, especially early on in the season, right? Harden typically plays his way back into shape, while he's, going out and doing this, getting these crazy numbers, while being a little heavier than he typically is towards the end of the season. So I think Harden is expected to be in shape to start the season, which will be a different feel for the progression throughout the season, right? So he can get to his spot a little quicker. He can average the numbers that he typically doesn't get to until December. Maybe he starts to get to those, and we start to see those early. I also think that Harden talked a lot last year about just wanting to win a championship and kind of taking a back seat, putting everything else to the rear just to focus on winning the championship. So I do think that he's hungry. That's the ultimate goal for this team, is championship or bust, no matter if they, make it out of the first round, don't make it out of the first round, or get all the way to the finals. This team is built to win a championship, and they definitely want to do it right now. As I move on, another key thing, Maxey, right? I think Maxey just having another year to develop, getting more time in the offseason to develop, chemistry with Joel Embiid, who hasn't been playing with for extremely long, but more so Harden, who he hasn't been playing with for extremely long. And then they also have, you bring in guys that have championship pedigree and PJ Tucker. So those guys just being able to influence him, I think, will also be helpful. If you know anything about Maxey, he's a student of the game. He loves to learn. He loves to work hard. So I'm extremely excited to see what this season holds for Maxey. The addition of PJ Tucker and Montrezl Harrell, like I said, I think those two pieces bring a lot of toughness to this team that they lacked last year. PJ Tucker was one of the guys that was actually bullying them in the playoffs, of course. And I don't think that they get pushed around as much as they did last year. I don't know if people know this, but the 76ers actually finished they finished second to last as far as rebounding last year. This team was a horrible rebounding team. And I think I got it written down somewhere. I think, adding these additions, guys like PJ Tucker that we know is going to put his body on the line every single play, adding guys like Montrez who can offensively and, a tad bit defensively contribute as well. I think those things help a lot when it comes to the physicality. Like I said, this team finished second to last in rebounding. The only team that they were a better rebounding team was against the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets was the worst rebounding team. Philly was the second worst rebounding team. But they finished behind the Blazers, the Kings. It was a bunch of teams that finished in front of them. And I think that was an issue looking back. I think they've addressed that issue, which is why I'm even more, bullish on this team. Guys like Joel Embiid, of course, his health. Can he stay healthy? I think that's going to be a big part, because if Joel Embiid goes down, their hopes go down. Joel Embiid is a transcendent talent. I think we all kind of agree on that. And they're going to need him if they're going to make a deep, deep run to, potentially win a championship. So if all of those things can, if the toughness comes over and translates like I think it does, adding guys like Montrez and PJ Harrell, if Maxey takes his game to another level as well, Maxey also, I think it's interesting to note, Maxey shot almost 60% from the field after Harden joined the team. So that was a great addition for Maxey, right? Being able to be around Harden, being able to kind of pick his brain, Harden drawing the double teams. I think Harden's going to be a little healthier this year than he was last year as well. All those things have me kind of bullish on the 76ers. Of course, like I said, Joel Embiid's injury, just his health in general, will be a big concern. But if he can stay healthy, I think the sky's the limit for this team. Last year, this team finished 51-31. They finished tied with Boston for the best record in the Atlantic Division. We know Boston got a lot going on right now. Everything going on with Ime Udoka. And I think Boston might take a step back this year. Not to say that they won't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or, potentially not be there, because I do think that they got better. But Udoka, everything going on with Udoka is going to be a distraction. And he also made them a better version of themselves. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I like the 76ers this year. I think they could be I don't know how people ranking them, but if you don't have them high, I think they could definitely be a dark horse. We know that the Eastern Conference got better all around, but I do think that Philly being one of those teams definitely got a lot better. So projected win total for this year is 50.5. Like I said, last year they won 51. They went 51-31. This win total, 51, 50, well, pretty much 51, 50.5. I would only be able to look towards the over in this. I think if Embiid stays healthy, this team is primed to make a run to win more than 51 games. Last year, if you remember, they had the whole Ben Simmons drama, going on to start the season. And Embiid had this team on his back, and he was killing. If you remember, you remember. Embiid was killing. Tyrese Maxey was stepping up. Like this team was, really balling. And then they didn't get hardened until, late into the season. And they still won 51 games. So I could only be able to look towards the over, the over 51.5. I just think that, like I said, if Embiid can stay healthy, you get a healthy and in shape James Harden. Like I said, Maxey continues to get better. You add the vets that brings the toughness to this team. I would only be able to look towards the over 51, over 50.5 wins, and them to make a run, like I said, towards to winning the Eastern Conference. I think that they're right up there when we talk about the best teams in the East: the Milwaukee Bucks, the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Brooklyn Nets. I think that this team is primed to be up there and contend with those top 3 or 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. As far as strength of schedule, I got them listed as 17th, which, means that they don't have the most difficult schedule, but it's also 13 teams that are also, ranked above them. They start the season off in Boston. That's going to be an interesting game. That's a TNT game on opening night on Tuesday, October the 18th. In Boston, televised game. They got a lot of televised games. And I think that they probably beat Boston. I think Boston, just based on the distractions. I was watching my guy Jay Money show yesterday when he was doing his preview on the Boston Celtics, and I think that this will be a distraction as well. I agree with Jay on that for the Boston Celtics, and Philly owes Boston, a lot. So I think that Philly gets them out the way. Robert Williams' health. We'll talk about that game when we get there. But Robert Williams is, was projected to be out for a month to 2 months. Now they're projecting him to be out for 2 months to 3 months after having that surgery. So that procedure done. So I'll be looking for Embiid to dominate that game. Set the tone early in the Eastern Conference on opening night, especially on a televised game on the road. It's typically where they play better. So that's just an early, just an early look in that one. After Boston, they come back home and they host Milwaukee. That's also a TNT game. So they get the Tuesday night and the Thursday night game for the opening week. And then they travel to San Antonio. Then they host San Antonio that Saturday. You get Indiana, Toronto back-to-back, and both of those are in Toronto. Chicago, Washington, New York. I think all of those are winnable games. So, not an extremely difficult schedule to start the season. Like I said, San Antonio, Indiana, Chicago, Washington, the Knicks, the Bulls. I think they finished better than the Bulls as well, especially with Lonzo not, being there for the beginning of the season. They get Atlanta a couple times. They get Utah. And teams like Brooklyn, Charlotte, all listed in the first month for this team. So that's what I got on the 76ers, man. Like I said, I'm high on the 76ers. I think that they do win over 51 games. And I like the moves that they made in the offseason. I think that this team is gonna be primed to make a deep run in the Eastern Conference and potentially get to the finals. Lockdown, I know these your guys. This your bread and butter right here. So I definitely want to kick it to you. But if anybody else got thoughts that they want to share on the Philadelphia 76ers, definitely request up. Or you can hop on the YouTube page and leave your comments if you can't chat. But Lockdown, let's kick it to you, bro. Tell me what your expectations are for your guys this year.
Championship or bust? No, I'm just kidding. I did. There are some pretty interesting. DK has a lot of fun futures that I think are worth looking at. Like if you do believe in your team to go all the way and to have some pairing. Like I'm high on, just starting right away, I'm high on Harden's assists. He's obviously switched. I know, like you've talked about his health in the offseason, but I still think he's just clearly shifted into the point guard mode. Like, you know what I mean? I don't need to do this all the time. I'm not going to jack up all these threes all the time. And actually, last 2 years, he's averaged more than 10 assists. 10.4 with the Rockets, 10.9 with the Nets, 10.2 with the Nets in 2021, and then 10.5 with the Sixers. So I say all that because a fun little feature that I actually really do have my eye on as someone who's really close to the team. Harden's assist per game for the season is set at 10.2. So I'm really high on that. I think that with all of the amazing pieces that, I mean, they built like half this team to be around Harden just as much as they have done for Embiid. There's all the jokes about the Houston Rockets East, right? Like PJ Tucker in the corner, he's going to get like 1 million assists off that. Anthony Max, he's only going to continue to get more efficient. I was really taking a strong look at his points per game for the season. I believe it's 18.8, and he just did like 17.5. So if he takes a step forward, that could be a solid, nice little future. But yeah, I mean, and especially, I also got to almost consider their division odds. I'm very low. I really think the Nets are going to blow it up in some way. And now with the Celtics and their craziness, I mean, Sixers division, winning their division at plus 300 could be very achievable. It's definitely something I'm going to monitor throughout the season. It's all going to come down to injuries and stuff like that too, of course. But like, as you said, this is just such a much deeper team. I kind of jumped ahead, but I really wanted to start off actually with a quote from Joel Embiid that kind of sums up their off-season moves. I believe you kind of said it as well, but this is direct from Joel Embiid, and this is what they literally went out and did. Hold on, I got a cough. So he said this is right after they just got bounced by the Heat, right?
Okay.
That night. I just know that we wasn't tough enough. You look at someone like PJ Tucker, great player, but it's not about him knocking down shots. It's about what he does, whether it's on defense, on the defensive end, or rebounding the ball. You look at it, obviously, defensively, he plays with so much energy, believes that he can get from point A to point B, and he believes that no one can beat him. And he's tough. He's just physical and he's tough. And they have a few of those guys, whether it's Bam and all those guys. And since I've been here, I'd be lying if I said that we've had those types of guys. Nothing against what we have. It's just the truth. We never had PJ Tucker. That's really what I'm trying to say. So I think physicality, especially once you get to the playoffs or the later rounds, you need that. You need those guys that are really tough. That, and then the fact that like him and Morey and they have their little love fest going on, playing tennis together right when they got here and all this other shit. Like then Morey just goes out and fucking does it. And you got the Ben Simmons head. That I don't think people realize how much the Ben Simmons headache hanging over the season last year was, like, for a fan and the team, was still a headache. Even though he didn't fucking play a single fucking minute, he was a huge pain in the ass, mentally for these guys and otherwise. And now their win total is still at 50.5, and they went 51 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
They had 51 wins last year, and now they have a deeper, tougher team. Yeah, give me the over.
Yep.
So I'm official on that. I took it just for a unit simply because I'm like, the futures, I'm never really a futures guy, mostly because it's just weird tying up your money, especially at even money. But this is one where I'm like, yep, I will happily play the over. I think you mentioned Joel Embiid's MVP situation. I do agree. I am going to be looking at that very closely because, I mean, he could also go for depoy. You know what I mean? Instead, it's something that he's been vocal about in the past, and this year could be the year he says, you know what, fuck it, they're not going to give me MVP. I will focus everything I have on the defensive end, and take it from the clutches of Gobert and Marcus Smart. But yeah, so like that depoy odds, Joel Embiid at plus 2,100. That's something I'm eyeing up. Most improved. I don't know if anyone remember. Were you on the Maxi most improved last year? There were a lot of cappers that were trying to push for that last year.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Right. I think I didn't. I think I took a small bit about that, but I had someone else. But Maxi, I still kind of have this theory that guys kind of win it before they win it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So him at plus 3,300. I'm really eyeing that up, especially if this team is just functioning well, as it should. And he doesn't have what people don't remember about, if you didn't watch the team last year, is that he did probably a lot more than he, a lot more point guard duties than he really is better off as a shooting guard. He does not need to be the point guard. That is the perfect role for what Harden does to this team. But Maxey was having to be like the point guard before, because the whole shit of like why Philly fans fucking hate Simmons is because it's not like we got to replace him with someone functioning.
Right,
he just
right.
fucking wasn't there.
Right.
For like half a season, no fucking chemistry. That's the other thing about all the white parties that they're having together, all the team, the cohesiveness, especially amongst the. Yeah, did you notice that there was like an abundance of white, what they call white parties? Everyone dressed in white.
Oh yeah, the all white parties. Yeah,
summer. It's crazy. So like all the cohesiveness and chemistry, this is going to be a really dangerous team. And I know it's my team, but like it's also, I watch them the most, so I can kind of sense when there's probably a lot more hope. In the past years, it was always like, well, we got to see, like any year you have Joel Embiid, it's going to be a potential year, but the rest of the team you're kind of on. I'm not really on any of this, on anyone that's left except Matisse Thybulle. And I have a feeling that, and I also still, whether or not he gets traded, I still think that there's a lot of whisperings amongst like the Sixers podcasters that like there could be another trade on the horizon. Not maybe monumental, but there could be another trade on the horizon. Maybe something smaller. Maybe Matisse gets out of here or something, or maybe it's just on the fringes and somehow they finagle Eric Gordon out of this. I don't think that's possible, but there's still people wanting Eric Gordon. So I said a lot. Anything you want to respond to?
No, like I think we just agree. Like I don't have much of a rebuttal because I'm just over here shaking my head. I'm probably not watching the YouTube, but I'm just over here like, yep, I agree with that. Yep. Like I think that's worth the sprinkle. Yep. So yeah, I think I just like this team from a depth perspective now. Lockdown. Like I think, like I said, bringing in Montrez, bringing in PJ. I'm not gonna beat that dead horse, but bringing those guys in, with a guy like D'Anthony Milton, you still got Shake on the team. Matisse, I think, there were reports last year that he was gonna work with Harden on his offensive game, and Harden was gonna work with him on his defensive game. So I think them two kind of working together only improves his shot making this year.
That report.
I saw.
That could be fun. Honestly, every Sixers fan will tell you, like, I don't even want to hear any reports of off-season shooting. Just show me at this point. Like,
right.
Ben Simmons has traumatized us from that, but that would be amazing.
Yeah. I heard that, and I just think that. I think that this team, I think it could be the year if they can stay healthy, because we know Harden has been through, recently through his, ups and downs with health as well, and being on the injury list. But I think if James Harden and Embiid can stay healthy, then it's going to be really, really difficult for, there to be a contender in the Eastern Conference, especially when, I don't know if people are paying attention, but there's been, some rumblings about, and Chris Middleton hasn't signed that extension. Well, he hasn't opted back in. I think he has like $40 million on his contract this year, and everybody's kind of looking for him to opt in, and that could be a distraction over him in Milwaukee. Because he kind of came out and said it the other day, like, yeah, I want to be here, and I love my teammates, I love the city, but at the end of the day, it's a business. So, without Middleton, we saw what happened with them last year, and we know Kyrie is he's a ticking time bomb that could. Things could go really, really well for Brooklyn, or they could get really, really sour for Brooklyn. So I think I'm most high on this team than any other team in the Eastern Conference. Them in Boston. So yeah, like I would agree with like I said with a lot of what you said, bro.
Yeah, so like their division odds. Yeah, I mean we got to see how Celtics kind of play together, because chaos with the coach, but more, I guess more than anything, I think Williams being out longer is probably the biggest thing. But like, yeah, their division Sixers. I might pounce on their division odds if I sense weakness from the other teams. I'm with you. I'm just super low on the net. I had no idea what to expect. I just can't. I don't know how you do have that many public trade requests and then just expect to go out and win, guys. Let's do it. And especially with it, I mean, do we not have, I know this is not the Nets, but like I missed the Nets one. Like he even said, like, me or the coach and the GM. How does that work in the future? How does that working relationship go?
That's going to be interesting. Like that, it's either going to go one way or the other. And I know you mentioned one, or it can, they just sit down and really
scary good. Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah, they kind of hash it out, and it is what it is, and they kind of leave it in the past, but. We've seen Durant not be able to do that, which is one of the reasons why I think he, jumped ship from Golden State, because he couldn't get over what happened with Draymond. So, that's gonna be interesting. Like that, I'm interested to see what happens with the Brooklyn Nets. But I think I'm a little more higher on the Nets because of the way that they lost last year. I think that that piece is super interesting because you got two future Hall of Famers, first ballot Hall of Famers that it's not even arguable. Get swept in the first round, like you know what I mean. Not swept in the finals, not swept in the Eastern Conference Finals. But in the first round of the finals, you get swept by a Boston team. So, I mean, I know that just, only provides even more motivation. Kevin Durant, somebody that, he just wants to play basketball anyway. So he's definitely going to go out there, give it his all. I'm not a big fan of Steve Nash at all. But that's neither.
Rotations infuriated the entire gambling community.
Right. Yeah. Can't be a big fan of that guy and his leadership.
Yeah. So I guess before we digress too much, but I will just leave with my favorite future. Then, if you are high on the Sixers like I am, and you want to sprinkle on their outright, which I think their outright is 1,500. But like James Harden to lead the league in assists, so just to lead the league in assists apparently is like +1. He's the current top odds, +145, I believe was what it was. And I do like that considering last year it was Trey and it was Chris Paul, and I expect both of those teams to take a step back. I don't know about you, but given their offseason moves and chaos, I'm a little lower on that. Maybe Chris Paul sneaks out above him, just because Chris Paul is point guard. So. But yeah, James Harden to lead the league in assists, and Sixers to win would be +3,500. So you're basically doubling the championship odds. It's pretty nice for a team that could really make a deep run, especially if he is leading the league in assists. It's one of those pairings that, like, if he is leading the league in assists, they probably are gonna, have a deep run. If he's having that good of a season, and the rest of the team is having that good of a season. Because I'm not really still looking for him to be a volume scorer. I don't think anyone is. He just needs to be able to do it when it counts. So,
yeah. Like I think great commentary. I know you did your homework. I know you always doing your homework. These are your guys, so I definitely appreciate that insight, bro. Appreciate you being here today for sure. Anybody else got comments they want to make on the Philadelphia 76ers? Anybody got any pushback for me? Maybe think I'm thinking a little too high this team. Any thoughts at all? Definitely request up. You can, and I will get you up here. But if not, I kind of do a recap real quick, and then we'll get out of here. I'm never into wasting people's time. It's a Friday evening too, so we can get out of here. Yesterday, we went over the Washington Wizards and the Dallas Mavericks. All of these are recorded for the people who jumped in late. Everything's recorded over on YouTube. Feel free to check the videos out. Today, we just broke down the Sacramento Kings first and the Philadelphia 76ers. And then tomorrow we will jump into the Indiana Pacers and the Golden State Warriors. It'll probably be a lot earlier than 5:15 Eastern time, just because I would like to do it early in the morning, but my son has soccer, so I probably won't be able to do it, too early, because his soccer is like mid-morning, like 11 a.m. So it's either going to be before 11, which will probably be a little difficult because I know most people like to sleep in, or it'll be after like 1. So just kind of watch out, on my page. I'll definitely tweet the time out. And then on Sunday, we have the Detroit Pistons and the Memphis Grizzlies. And that one will probably be early as well. And then Monday, we'll jump back into the 5:15 slate of things. We'll do the Milwaukee Bucks and the Portland Trailblazers, Oklahoma City Thunder and Boston Celtics on Tuesday, the Orlando Magic and the Phoenix Suns on Wednesday. And then we'll finish off with the Houston Rockets and the Miami Heat on next Thursday. And then preseason starts on Friday. So it's really that close. Like, it's really, really that close. So, that's where we are. I appreciate you guys for being here as always. Definitely, if you're over on YouTube, definitely like the video, share the video. We probably gonna make a lot more money on basketball again this year, is what I'm projecting. I'm doing my homework, of course, and just trying to share the information with you guys as well, so we can all be, just better, more informed bettors, so we can make more profit. Like I said, I appreciate you guys for being here. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Also, I did post the MLB bet. I'm on the Philadelphia Phillies over 3.5 runs today. Fada Odorizzi, the play is posted on my page with the analysis as well, if you guys want to tell that. And that's all I got for you guys. Like I said, have a good evening, and I'll see you guys next time.
Have a great day, Chris.
Absolutely. You too, Lockdown. Appreciate you being here, bro.